for listening in, and welcome to the Transcendental Eye. This is Laura, your host, and today we'll be talking about the Transcendental Eye and what the Transcendental Eye has to offer. We'll be talking about my flash fiction series, The Altar Mysteries, as well as my book in progress, The Dark Prince, as well as some tips for new writers getting started that want to gain an audience. Thank you for listening. So, this being the first episode of the podcast for the Transcendental Eye, I'm sure many of you are wondering, where on earth I got the idea for the Transcendental Eye? Well, part of it references back to Transcendentalism and to Emerson. But in reality, probably the major thing that inspired me for the name of this brand is that idea of seeing across different worlds, times, perspectives that really resonates with me, especially with my work, that I wanted to call the brand the Transcendental Eye, which covers not just my writing, but my art as well. And so that's the reason why I came up with that name. But as you'll see when you read or listen to my recordings of the flash fiction, The Altar Mysteries, there's moments here and there where you kind of see into this alternate world that Zara can dive into. She can deal with the spirit realm and interact with spiritual beings, and there's this notion that the rules of the world can change even how you interact with that world and how you're influencing the space as well as being influenced by it. So that's something that relates deeply to this idea of transcendence and sort of breaking rules, becoming bound by new rules, this sort of metamorphosis of self that happens in my work. And so that's so apropos when looking at what Zara can do. And thus far in the series, we've really just lightly skimmed the surface of how Zara interacts in the crossroads, other realms, her origin story. But as we go along, you'll see more of what I'm talking about and how that piece of who she is spiritually deeply impacts her character arc and the story as well. But moving on from that, the logo, the brand itself, and kind of delving into the Altar Mysteries, that story is a flash fiction story that I've been publishing on a weekly basis for free. Typically the posts are about, I want to say, 1,600 words. So it's like a scene. And what I did thus far is the first chapter was 5 scenes. And I'm working on the second chapter now, posting each week. And it's time where you can just kind of get this little micro lens and look in on the story and get it, this little snippet each week, easy to read, easy to digest. And it's deeply affected the progress of it as well, because it's like, breaking up the story into those small bits, it makes it so that there's all these little opportunities to explore and emphasize, a facet of the story, whether it be the overall plot, a relationship dynamic between the characters, things that bring life to where they are, like, what are the tiers, in the world that Zara lives in, these technological almost levels in the sky where, people have businesses and live, and, it's so much fun to just kind of like break up the story and do it in such a small snippet to kind of get this little almost image, of this world and put it out there and take that time. And my sense of time with the story and, what's going on with the characters, I feel like it's sort of changed because I'm breaking it up into such small little snippets. And it's just really impacted my writing overall. And so, reflecting off of that and thinking about the Ultra Mysteries and how it's written, I made it a flash fiction because it's so perfect for that. What the Ultra Mystery is about is, as you can see, yes, it has that sci-fi element where you have this futuristic technology and things like that. It also has that supernatural, vibe thrown in. But essentially, Zara is a human woman, yes. She was born, and it's not like she's some alien from some other place, but spiritually, you find out that she's not really quite human. And it's out there already in one of my posts where we show, yes, she goes to the crossroads, but then also, not only is she also able to journey to the spiritual place, but she has these dreams about this gray-skinned woman and working with the fates, and Zara dreams of being her. And in case you didn't figure it out, woohoo, there it is. Yes, that's actually her, but that's just barely even the tiniest bit of all of who she is and what it means that she's this otherworldly being living in this human world. And because she's this fate and she's been sent to be a human, she solves mysteries, crimes, and she's an investigator. And so this whole story just has all these opportunities to be, multiple cases where she meets, different challenges. And, I have a lot of fun writing about her and her relationship with her girlfriend Izzy, who she lives with, and her boyfriend and business partner Tanaka. Another fun aspect of the story being that she has more than one partner, and no, she's not cheating, they know about each other, but this whole concept that she can be romantically in love with more than one person, and that they're managing their relationship with one another, and that's an interesting aspect to explore as well. So she is a fun part of the story, and a main aspect obviously being the main character. But for all this with the investigation, it's not a piece of pie, regardless of how powerful or whatever, abilities she may have. It's clear as you read along thus far with what I've put out, even not including the things that I'm putting out later. It's obvious that there's struggles there. Based on what's been revealed so far, there was a time when there were concentration camps for paranormals. Zara is a paranormal in that she has abilities, chiefly among them telekinesis, telepathy. But those abilities are not necessarily categorized with what would be considered supernatural, and supernatural entities in that world are not recognized as existing the way paranormals are. But paranormals were in concentration camps, and so there's this sort of friction in the story where you're wondering to yourself, is somebody gonna mess it up for everybody else? Is there gonna be this criminal that's paranormal that's just gonna throw everything into chaos and possibly end with the paranormals losing their rights again? And right now in the story, we're following a criminal that, as far as Zara knows, is definitely paranormal, and he happens to be a serial killer. Not a great day for PR for the paranormal. So it's kind of fun having her juggle that and trying to deal with the police and, get around whatever friction there may be, trying to catch this guy before it threatens the paranormals as a whole. So the fun note on all of this, aside from it being a paranormal mystery with interesting relationship dynamics and ever-evolving problems regarding paranormal rights, is that in addition to this being a flash fiction, I actually plan on making a book off of the Alter Mysteries that goes even a little bit deeper into what's going on once I finished with this specific criminal. And so moving on from that, now that you've got a little taste of the Alter Mysteries and what's going on, I want to talk about the book that I'm currently working on, which is not the Alter Mysteries, and I'm kind of being bold, and on top of doing this flash fiction series, I'm working on this project that I'm tentatively calling The Dark Prince, that follows a dark elf that is captured, in a sense, by a princess elf of a enemy kingdom, and has to help her solve a curse that's been put on the kingdoms, or risk being enslaved by a people called the Var as payment for his loss in the war. And it is so just amazing to watch this story grow. I have outlines that I sort of do, in my head, and like light sketches on paper, but I allow things to grow organically with my stories, and I'm just having so much fun watching what happens with them. Sometimes I describe my writing as me just sitting down and, watching it happen, because the characters just do it themselves. There are times where I'm upset about something that's happening, even though I'm writing it, because I'm like, I can't believe that person died. This is ridiculous. I can't believe, X character is going to do this. It's against everything that they're supposed to do. I'm just sitting there like, I'm writing this, and yet I know I can't unwrite this. This is how it has to be. I'm sure some of you guys listening who write yourselves know exactly what I'm talking about. But that's just one of those things that happens. I'm kind of putting myself under the gun here, because I'm trying to get to a 20,000 word count by the end of May. So we'll see if that happens. But, I've been ridiculously ambitious recently, just working on multiple projects, but it's just been feeding the fire for me, so I'm going with it. And I'm having a good old time working on what I can. And, when something, I'm done with it for that day, I work on something else. I don't let go of that fuel. So it's been a rather productive time. And I can't say how you can wave the wand and get that going for yourself. Exactly. But for me, once the opportunity of inspiration seizes you, and you feel that inner fire to produce whatever project or thing it is that the muse calls you to do, you take up that call and you produce what you need to produce. And when you feel those juices flow through you, man, it's like all of a sudden what was once a drip becomes a faucet. You just can't help but continue writing or creating or drawing, whatever it is that you do. So I have to say that if you seize that opportunity when you have inspiration and work on it and show up to be inspired, it happens. And I am so thankful for that I've been able to show up every day and get my writing going. But looking beyond that, another thing that I wanted to talk about, besides the Dark Prince and my word count, is that keeping track of your projects and not letting yourself go too wild, which I know I sound like a total hypocrite right now because I've got major things going on all at once. But what I mean is, yes, be creative. If you really feel that spark to start something, as long as you do what you can to inform yourself, and go and prepared to do what you need to do, go for it. But always remember, when you're thinking through this project or that, and you've written and your creativity has been flowing, remember to take time to check in with yourself. So what I'm doing to keep track, not lose myself down, one particular path to the point of sacrificing everything else in my schedule, I do that check-in. So I know what I want in terms of goals for the week, the month. So I know I want at least 20,000 words per month to be dedicated to the Dark Prince. And what am I doing? I've realized it's almost the end of the month. I need to reach those 20,000. Today I got up to 13,440. Not a lot. Wanted to be up to 20,000. You know what? Tomorrow I know I sure as heck better focus on that Dark Prince book and get those word counts up so I can meet my quota here. But at the same time, I'm not going to get all upset at myself if I can't reach it. I've worked towards writing it. I need to make sure it's quality too. Don't ever forget quality. And there's that. For the Ultra Mysteries, my personal quote on that, I like my posts to be about the length of a scene, about 1,600 words, once a week. I meet that, and I have been meeting it. So, guys, just make sure if you're creative, you've got a project going, whatever the case may be, if you're going to be doing something, just remember to check in with yourself. What were my goals? Did I meet my goals? If I didn't meet them, how can I adjust things to make sure they get done? Just remember that, and that'll help you keep on track to achieving those goals that you want to achieve. And life happens. Sometimes things don't happen exactly the way you plan them to, but it's just a good way to keep things going, because if you're creating something for yourself, the person that you hold yourself accountable to first and foremost is yourself, because there's plenty of other people making things out there. And I don't mean that to be discouraging, but just like you can gain an audience, you can lose an audience. But it's hard to keep an audience if you're not even showing up for yourself. So that's one major thing. Know what your goals are. Check in to see if you're meeting them. If not, adjust the course. see if you can get back on track. And I myself, I'm following that advice right now. Today, I made sure I got my word count up, in addition to making sure that I worked on the other projects I wanted to do. So that's a great tip. Other than that, I went over the Ultra Mysteries. Please check in on that weekly. I put up a new post every Sunday for free. If you want early access, you can access it on my Patreon. Early access is $3 per month, the cost of a cup of coffee. As for the Dark Prince, I will continue posting periodic posts to show where I am with word count, what challenges I'm facing with, writing this first book and getting it out there. Kind of putting myself under the gun with that too, because I want to have a physical book that I have written in my hands by fall of 2018. I want it well edited, I want it the highest quality, and I want it done. My thought here is, hey, if it's quality but it's published a year late, at least I got a book in my hands. But for now, I'm going to act like there's nothing acceptable but publishing that book by fall 2018, as I want to make my dreams happen, and publishing books is one of them, and I want the Dark Prince to shine. So follow with me on my podcast if you want to hear more about that as well, and my journey through publishing my first book. Follow along too if you want some tips here and there from a comrade in arms writing her stories. I really appreciate you guys listening in, and thank you so much for doing so. Contributions you can make to my Patreon would be ever so helpful. And that would be at my patreon.com/Laura_Zabala website. And the spelling of that at the link below. And if you would take interest in my shop that I've opened, where I sell mugs and posters and pillows and things like that, you can feel free to take a look at that shop on my website, laurazabala.com. Thank you so much for listening in, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.